Today we're going to discuss why a super visa might not be as super as it sounds. Many people want to bring their parents and grandparents to Canada to visit, and the super visa was certainly designed for this purpose. But there are some things worth discussing. In this video, I'm going to explain what a super visa is, how to apply for one, and the reasons why we don't typically recommend it as a great solution that many people think it is. I think it might be because the name super's in it, as everyone always makes that sound much better than it actually is. So, what is a super visa? A super visa is a multiple entry visa that allows applicants to visit their family in Canada for up to 5 years. Just as a side note, the super visa used to be valid for 2 years, but that's been increased to 5 years at the time of filming. How do you apply for a super visa? The eligibility requirements for a super visa are quite straightforward, with the applicable applicant needing to be a parent or grandparent of a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. To qualify, some of the requirements are a signed letter from your child or grandchild inviting you to Canada, and the letter must include a promise of financial support, the number of people in the household, and a copy of the sponsor's citizenship certificate or permanent residence document. Additionally, you're required to have a medical insurance from a Canadian insurance company, which can be expensive. The insurance policy must be valid for 1 year from the date that you enter Canada, and it must be for at least $100,000 in coverage. And in addition, you got to meet all the requirements of all the regular visitor visas. So, to apply for a super visa, all you got to do is pay the processing fee of $100, submit all the requirements, and the processing time can vary from a few weeks to several months, depending on the applicant's country of origin and the current immigration processing times. Now, the super visa sounds simple so far. Then why am I saying that it's not so super? Well, there's several reasons why it may not be the best idea for some. Firstly, the high cost of medical insurance alone can be prohibitive for some. The cost of medical insurance for a super visa can be quite expensive, and it's mandatory to have medical insurance as part of the requirements. While this requirement makes sense, and depending on your appetite for taking a chance, the Canadian government wants to ensure that temporary residents are covered medically just in case. The cost of the insurance varies depending on your age, health, and the length of your stay. And as most applicants are parents and grandparents, this generally means that they're going to be on the older side, which translates into higher insurance premiums. Now, for example, a 65-year-old individual could pay anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 for a year of coverage. This can be a significant burden for many people, especially if they're already supporting their parents and grandparents financially, as well as other family members or dependents. Next, the 5-year time to stay is not absolute, and put it a bit more accurately, the length of stay is ultimately decided at the border when the CBSA officer stamps a passport for your parent or grandparent to enter. Lastly, we'll need to expand on the last drawback for the super visa, which is the financial responsibility. It can be quite daunting if you invite your parents or grandparents to Canada on a super visa, as you become financially responsible for their well-being while they're in the country. Not that you wouldn't do this anyways, but this visa makes you show that you meet certain financial obligations when other applications do not have this requirement, and it leaves you a little bit more room to show some context. As part of the application, you must prove that you meet the LICO or low-income cutoffs and supply documents to prove this. If you're unable to meet these financial obligations, your parents or grandparents will most likely cause some issues in the eligibility of the application, and it's probably not going to be successful. Okay, so might not be so super after all. And if you really want to put it side by side to a non-super visa, then you'll see that you can still achieve the same goal with less expense and more flexibility. So what are the alternatives? The most obvious alternative is a regular visitor visa or a TRV, which allows your parents or grandparents to stay in Canada for up to 6 months at a time. Now, while the visitor visa does not allow the parents or grandparents to stay in Canada for as long as a super visa, it's more straightforward, less expensive, and most importantly, the stay can be extended inland, which means they don't have to leave, through applying for a visitor record. Thus, they can extend their stay and they don't have to go anywhere. So to qualify for a TRV, your parents and grandparents must agree to leave Canada at the end of their stay, show that they have enough funds to maintain themselves in Canada and return home, and finally, they got to be admissible to Canada. Anyone can apply for a TRV, not just a parent or grandparent, so you have the option to have other family members apply and accompany your family altogether. So while the super visa may seem like an attractive option for bringing your parents or grandparents to Canada, it's not always the best choice. The high cost of medical insurance, possible limitations of stay, financial responsibility, and eligibility requirements can make this super visa less appealing for some, and also in some cases, not possible. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative and maybe a different take than something you've heard somewhere else. And I'll look forward to seeing you in Canada soon. But please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more helpful tips and strategies. See you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching.